Stick to my speaking notes, though, Mr. Speaker. I am very honored to stand here today, and, I'm representing a fantastic riding of Cambridge. It is a beautiful blend of urban and rural as well. We have a significant farming population, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to speak to this bill, Bill 156, and I want to thank the Minister of Agriculture for listening, because this is an issue that came up before I was elected, and it's something that I'm particularly happy because it not only addresses one issue, it addresses many issues. I'm going to begin with a quote from John Taylor. He is the president of the Ontario Mutual Insurance Association, and he says, Ontario's farm mutuals have been insuring farms and farm families for over 160 years. As community-based insurers, we understand and value the importance of safety and risk management of our food supply and farms. Farm incursions and trespass pose a significant risk of harm to livestock, food security, farmers, and farm property. Bill 156, the Security from Trespass and Protecting Food Safety Act, provides basic protection against illegal activities, and we support this common sense approach to enhancing farm safety and food security. Well said, John. Speaker, I've met with John Taylor. In fact, I met with Mr. Taylor and discussed the risks of trespassing on farmland and what it means for farmers, their families, and farm animals, and the importance of stopping illegal activities. This was before Bill 156 was even introduced. I also wrote a letter to the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs about this very issue, and thank you for the response, Minister, because I'd heard from farmers in my very own riding who are concerned about the safety and security around trespassing and the impact it has on their lives and livelihoods. I did host a roundtable last year. It was in the township of North Dumfries, which is part of my riding, and I was accompanied by the member from Perth Wellington, who is also a parliamentary assistant in this ministry, and I'd like to thank him for coming out to that. I know the farmers really appreciated the fact that we took the time to listen to them, and if memory serves me correctly, this was the first time that they had ever had government sit down and consult with them to ask them what their challenges were. And I would also like to thank, again, the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs for listening for this bill and for the recent roundtable hosted by my colleague, the member for Brantford-Brant, earlier this month. The member for Brantford-Brant and I share an overlapping border. I have constituents who live in Brant County, or North Brant, and I was grateful for the opportunity to join him and the minister for a much-appreciated roundtable discussion on Bill 156. This bill listens to farmers and concerned stakeholders like the Christian Farmers Federation of Ontario and their president, Clarence Nywening, who says, farmers are worried about potential threats to their families, farm animals, and businesses. They're concerned current trespass legislation is not enough to protect them from unwanted visitors who risk hurting both their livestock and farm property. We urge the Ontario government to improve protection for our farmers from the risk of illegal activism, end quote. Also, Keith Curry from Ontario Federation of Agriculture, who notes, we appreciate the support of the Ontario government in taking the concerns of Ontario livestock and poultry farmers seriously and acting swiftly to address them. Farmers implement biosecurity measures to protect against unwanted diseases as well as stress on our farm animals. The actions of today's activist trespassers compromise our efforts and put our herds and flocks at risk, jeopardizing the integrity of our food system. End quote. Ontario farmers report increasing incidents of trespass on farms, including those that have resulted in other offenses such as theft or release of livestock. And I imagine that would be quite stressful for both the farmer, their families, and the livestock. Farm stakeholder organizations like the ones I just mentioned, municipalities, meat processors, and the transportation sector have asked for more support to prevent and address these risks. Mr. Speaker, the Security from Trespass and Protecting Food Safety Act is, first and foremost, about protecting Ontario's food supply and protecting farmers. Following biosecurity protocols is essential to ensure that Ontario has a steady supply of safe food, and interference in this process puts both farmers and our food supply at risk. This is not something we're taking lightly, nor should we, Mr. Speaker. We have consulted widely and held more than 20 roundtables like the one I mentioned just a bit ago in Brantford. There have been meetings and conference calls with various stakeholders, municipalities, and representatives of animal advocacy organizations to discuss concerns with trespassing and the integrity of our food systems. 79 municipalities have passed or supported council resolutions that call on this government to strengthen protections for these targeted operations. In fact, I want to reference, much like my colleague, the member from Sarnia-Lambton did, the township of Warwick just for a moment. And I, again, want to quickly add that Warwick is in the riding of Lambton, Kent, Middlesex. Back in June of last year, the township passed a resolution calling on the government to do something to protect farmers, recognizing, and I'm taking this from the resolution, that, quote, agriculture is the second largest industry in Ontario, contributing $13.7 billion annually to Ontario's GDP, and is essential for putting food on the tables of millions of people here and around the world, end quote. And that maintaining proper biosecurity is essential to ensure the health and well-being of the animals, adding that, and again, this is from the resolution,